Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I want to welcome you to our Women of Grace and Grit Roundtable. This is obviously a very special anniversary, 105 years of women voting, so definitely something to celebrate, especially now as we're in the golden age of America. Being a woman in leadership means more now than ever if you look at who we've got in our cabinet. Amazing people like Secretary Brooke Rollins, Secretary Linda McMahon, Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're going to have a surprise addition to our agenda this morning. Speaking of women in leadership, when I first started in the Women's Initiative before Stacey became our amazing chair, I was a team of two, me and the amazing lady who's going to open us up this morning. Ashley Hayek is the president of America First Works, the executive vice president of AFPI, and also the senior advisor to the Attorney General and the Secretary of Agriculture, our amazing Brooke Rollins. So she's a boss here, she's a boss there, and she's a fierce protector of women. She's taught me so much about how to empower women, how to protect women through good policy, and then of course the politics follow, like Secretary McMahon always says. So I want you to join me in welcoming Ashley Hayek. She's going to kick us off this morning.
Good morning. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it, and I just wanted to stop by and say hello before I actually go back to Main Justice. I did a ride-along last night with the U.S. Marshals, and in D.C. we took down two child predators, sexual predators, and a domestic abuser. And it's absolutely phenomenal to see the work that our Department of Justice is doing, that Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing, that the President is doing to clean up Washington, D.C., get bad people off the streets, put them in prison where they belong. On Monday, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that El Mayo, the business partner to El Chapo, who is responsible for killing thousands of innocent people, trafficking fentanyl into our country, will be serving the rest of his life in U.S. prison, which is amazing. And it's really because of the leadership of President Trump and our amazing cabinet secretaries and attorney general and the agency leaders, and it's absolutely phenomenal to see the work that has been done. You know, as we approach 2026 and AFW is very focused on the midterm election, we're thinking about the fact that there's only 4 times in the past 100 years that the president's party has actually gained seats and kept that majority. And so it's an uphill battle. There's absolutely no doubt. But given the track record that President Trump has, given the leadership that we see from our incredible cabinet members like Secretary McMahon and Secretary Rollins and Scotty Turner and Lee Zeldin, I have the most confidence that we will be going into this election with more ammunition, more good messaging, more policy, more change, in delivering on the promises that the president made and the American people wanted, that we have such a huge opportunity to expand our majorities and make sure that we keep America great and keep our golden age going. So I'm so encouraged by everything that Stacey Scheffelin is doing. She's so incredible, bringing women together. You have an incredible program today. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you all again very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Martin Gillespie. I serve here as Executive Vice President of America First Policy Institute. I don't know how this happened, but I'm the only guy on the program. I would have thought they could have done a little more handsome, a little more macho, but I'm going to do the best I can. To get us started, thank you, Rebecca. To get us started, as we often do at AFPI, we're going to start by invoking Almighty God in our work, which George Washington did back at Valley Forge, and Americans from time immemorial have done at key inflection points. I want to also ask, as I introduce Dr. King, also to lead us in the pledge. Madison is going to come back, as well as Lauren Brazier. Lauren is essentially Stacey's personal chief of staff and does an amazing job. But I want to tell you all that the American dream, probably the best illustration of it, was laid out on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial last century by our next speaker's uncle, like his first name, Martin Luther King. And who would believe that what he laid out on those steps is the ethos of America First conservatism now, some not quite, but 65 years later. It really talks about a merit and character-based society, rejecting things like CRT, rejecting Marxist ideology, the pits, black against white, rich against poor, men against women, the list goes on and on and on. One of the first chairs who enlisted here at AFPI was Dr. Alveda King, who still serves here as our chair of the American Dream, as well as, in another role, as senior advisor on faith and community outreach for USDA. If you want to talk to someone who has a direct line to Jesus, it's her. Dr. Alveda, come up here and lead us in prayer. Lauren and Madison as well.
Martin and I have known each other longer than we would care to admit. It might tell you how old we are. But we did a lot of school choice work and pro-life work in the earlier years. And so it's always exciting to work with you here at AFPI. Young ladies, they usually want me to do this little light of mine, but I'm not going to do that today. Would you help with this one? Just join in. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, wide with foam, God bless. God bless America, my home, sweet home. If you agree, give God a hand clap on that one. Very quickly, I want to explain something. My granddaughters dress me, and sometimes we go too crazy with bling, so I hope we didn't do that today. I even have a grown lady's tutu. Can you believe that? Oh, my God. But children, really quick, Martin, and if you've noticed this at the airports now and on the airplanes, there are a lot of children there. Because when Roe v. Wade reversed, people started having more babies. You even see babies around here in mommy's tummies. Isn't that amazing? So I'm celebrating that. Very quickly, we're going to pray and open today. There can be no better opportunity as women today than to join together to do women's activities. I see Liz Doyle and some others from She Leads, and there are many. I work with all of you. I am on the advisory board. So we welcome you today. So glad to see you. You're not the only guy, you see? All right, it's all right, it's all right. Because the men are so important, men and women working together, not competing. Stacey, you're one of the bravest women I know. Our secretaries who are doing double duty. Secretary McMahon is here, right? Okay, so I'm taking too long. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we bless you for this opportunity to come together, to serve you in joy, giving good news and good reports. Strengthen us with might in our inner man as we continue, and we will serve you, President Trump, First Lady Melania, everybody. In the name of Jesus, we give you praise today. Amen.
Amen.
Is that good?
Thank you. It was awesome.
All right.
And not too much bling. You look awesome. Madison and Lauren, everyone please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please take your seat. So before I introduce Stacey here in just one moment, I have just one or two words of encouragement. Before I do that, I do want to acknowledge another great America First national leader who we're blessed to have here today. For those of you who were at the first Mar-a-Lago that AFPI hosted, that event back in November of 2021, Mike, I think that's where I met you for the first time. The person on the back end of that, who put that all together within about 15 days' time, and I don't even know this side of heaven how it happened, is now serving President Trump directly in the Oval Office as Special Assistant to the President, as well as Deputy Director of the Office of Public Liaison. If you've wondered why this White House, better than any, has been engaging with stakeholders, has been communicating, has been building coalitions, the person who put that all together on a daily basis and ongoing, and we were just laughing, we were told August was not going to be as busy. Well, there's only 3 days left for that to be true, and apparently it's not true. But ladies and gentlemen, Brett Powell. Brett, please stand and be recognized wherever you are. Thank you so much, Brett. Awesome job. Keep it up. So we were joking this morning that the America First Policy Institute could probably be called the America First Women's Policy Institute, because everything that has transpired in 4.5 years was devised in the mind of great women leaders. If you really think about AFPI, the bedrock, the foundation herself will be here today, and that is none other than Linda McMahon. And then the carpenter who built the structure, she won't be here today, but she's here in spirit. Her name is Brooke Rollins. But that list of women leaders goes on and on to include Pam Bondi, who's making our capital safe again, Ashley Hayek, Kellyanne Conway, Jessica Art-Steinman, Dr. Heidi Overton, who's helping lead domestic policy in the White House, was our chief policy officer here. Alex Campana, our COO, Erica Donalds, national leader for school choice, Jen Pellegrino, our chief spokesperson, Riley Gaines, who reasserted a fundamental truth, that there's only two sexes and you can't choose them. Sorry, guys. And the list goes on and on and on of these great women leaders who have blessed this country and have created this organization and lead it to this day. For nearly 75 years, we've been fed a false narrative, among others, and that is that the true vision for womanhood would be defined and illustrated by the likes of Margaret Sanger and Gloria Steinem and Hillary Rodham Clinton and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and AOC and Pocahontas, and the list goes on and on and on, that look at the construct of womanhood as being in conflict with men and with one another, as oppressors and victims. We're here today to tell a different story that's based in truth. And so the person who's leading that effort here, who I gotta be careful, because any given time I talk about her, I'm a mush, kind of like Mike, but the emotions get strong when I talk about Stacey. A lot of ladies saw her for 30 years in QVC and the Home Shopping Network. She was the enemy of a lot of husbands' checkbooks. And somehow or some way, before that first Mar-a-Lago that Brent organized, Linda came to me and said, you might want to meet my friend Stacey. She's got a background in business and sales and people and all kinds of different things, but just meet her. I don't want to put any pressure. And I met her, and I think in about 15 seconds, I said, I don't know who this woman is. I want to work with her the rest of my life. And so Stacey is the chair of the America First Women's Initiative here. She knows all about strong women. Her daughter, Lou, just won Miss Florida USA. Her daughter, Knox, just became a mom for the first time. So Stacey, by doing so, became a grandmother for the first time. Stacey is the definition of positivity and light in a very dark city. Ladies and gentlemen, our chair of the America First Women's Initiative, Stacey Scheffelin.
Any of that. Yes, you can. Thank you, Rebecca Dunn. How are you guys? Wow, so many of us. Hello, President's calling. All of us always have our phones on, because you know what? If you're not engaged and connected, Debbie says you're not alive, right, Debbie Saviano? That's right. Well, thank you so much. It was so great that Ashley could run in here before she had to run over to the Department of Justice or the Department of Ag. She's putting out so many fires and lifting and boosting those women that are running those agencies every day. We're so honored that she is a executive vice president here at AFPI and has been here and done so much great work. And President Trump says we would have never won that election without her. So here to Ashley Hayek. She is amazing, runs that C4 like a clock. But I just want to say good morning, beautiful patriots. What an incredible sight to have you all here today. Among accomplished women and so many enlightened men. Love you, Mike. And Chris, I saw you come in, and if I missed any other guys. You are in your communities, and you are the future of our nation. You're here for a time such as this, and we're so blessed that you're here. You're at the tip of the spear, and you're advancing freedom and carrying the torch for America. And our greatness is rooted in you for our next generation. Today, we celebrate the 105th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, women's right to vote. Over a century ago, women of faith and fortitude rose up, not in a cultural trend, but for a time of truth. We are essential voices in America's destiny, and they knew it. Those suffragists weren't just fighting for a ballot, they were building a legacy of liberty. Today, we gather in that same spirit. Bold, unapologetic men and women of grace and grit, committed to protecting faith, family, and freedom. This is not the hollow empowerment of the feminist movement. This is the authentic empowerment, women embracing God-given grit and leading with grace and courage and advancing freedom for all. This spirit is alive on this panel and in this room. Today, you'll hear from leaders spanning business, philanthropy, help me. Thank you. Guess I got to give some more. Media, activism, and public service. The fullness of the American woman's journey. You'll see a vision of that today. But before we begin, for the very first time, we're proudly to announce your inaugural America First Women's Initiative advisory team. They're a powerhouse of patriot women whose wisdom and dedication guide our mission. And today would not be possible without these warriors. Of the 20 women on this beautiful poster over here, they're your advisory team. They're not a board, they're a team like no other. We are honored to have 10 of them with us today, women who rearranged their lives. Women that have, I'm like Martin. God, we're terrible together. His wife looks at us and says, oh, please. Women who have rearranged their lives to be here, demonstrating their deep commitment. Please join me in celebrating those women as you please will come to the front, ladies, as we want to get a picture of you here today. So Joy, all our advisory team, Kat, please, Sherry, please. Give these women a hand of applause. The rest that couldn't be with us are Carol Adams, Marilyn Alexander, Layla Sentner, Joy Carter, Rebecca Contreras, Dr. Terry Denai, Trish Duggan, Amber Duncan, Rebecca Dunn, Joy Greco, Wendy Hershey, Kelly Holscher, Sherry Hurt, Karen Kimmer, Dr. Alveda King, Angela O'Neill, Betsy Sheehy, Abby Spencer Moffitt, Lisa Trout, and Kat Wall. Ladies, thank you. Let's get a picture. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies. They're true warriors. So also breaking news, I used to love that when we get on TV. Where's Lee Valentine in here? Hey, Lee. Lee and I were on QVC forever together. We used to love 2 words, sold out. That's always a good one. And the second was, it's revolutionary. You've never seen it before. You can see it right here. This is the first time. Call now. That's right, Lee. Breaking news here today, and you heard it here first, is that Jessica Hart-Steinman, who is our executive general counsel and the chair of our litigation team, has agreed to be the vice chair of our women's advisory team. So that is a huge honor, and she's so sad she couldn't be here today because, believe it or not, she's out saving the country. So anyway, with that small little thing in Houston that she's taking care of, it's now my honor to introduce our featured speakers, the Honorable Linda McMahon, Savannah Chrisley, Jamie Franklin, Kimberly Fletcher, and Abby Spencer Moffitt. I can't talk, I need to get some water. Each embodies conviction, service, and the unshakable truth that when women unite in purpose, our impact is not just historic, it is generational. It is time to honor these women by listening and taking in really what they're here to talk to us about. In your packets on your chairs, we've given you a pen, and also with everyone's name, the schedule of the itinerary of the day. On the back is a note location, so you can take notes. Because we won't have time for Q&A today. Sadly, the secretary has to run to something else. She broke away to be with us this morning. So with that, we want to honor her time. You'll also see in your packets a full bios on all the speakers. You'll also see a little bit about America First Women's Initiative and a lot about what we've done in the first 200 days here at AFPI and AFW here in DC. So take those home and please read through them when you get a chance. So if I may have our speakers, and we will get started. Thank you guys again for being here. So we're going to share mics a little bit, if you guys don't mind. Okay, we're going to start with the woman of the hour, a bestie of mine. Bless you, Linda McMahon, for being here. Yes, let's give it up to the Honorable Linda McMahon. So, Linda, you built a successful, can I call you Linda amongst friends? This is your family here.
That's my name.
Secretary. You built a successful company with WWE from the ground up before stepping into public service as the SBA administrator in the first Trump administration, and now as Secretary of the Department of Ed. You've given public service your life now, which is incredible. What does it mean to you on Women's Equality Day to reflect on that journey, and how has the 19th Amendment helped open doors for American women to lead in business and in government?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Stacey, so much for having me come this morning. It's a real pleasure to look out in the audience and see so many friendly faces and see some new friends as well. So I'm really delighted to be here and to share this panel with such a distinguished group of women. It's an honor to be here. You know, for women to have the right to vote and for women to be looked at, in business is an incredible accomplishment. Because, if we look at the fact that, women are 54% of the voting population today, and 50%, of the population, and women in homes make most of the decisions relative to how their family interacts with each other, what they eat, what events they go to, what vacations they have. Women play such an unbelievable role in everything that goes on in our politics and our government. The 19th Amendment opened many, many doors and made it official that we could step through. So I think that was incredibly important.
And Stephanie just led right in your footsteps. Was an incredible daughter and mother of three and amazing wife. So you were always a great role model for her as well as all of us. Savannah Chrisley. Oh my gosh, girlfriend. We go way back.
I know. And when you talk about Stephanie, the funny story is we've known her for years because our show came on right after WWE. And she would always get my little brother into all the wrestling things backstage. So we're coming full circle
Your
here.
family. And you both spoke on the stage at the RNC in Milwaukee. So you're walking in the same footsteps, which is amazing.
I will walk in every footstep she has
That's
walked,
right.
please.
That's right. We say the same thing. But Savannah, you're a TV personality, an amazing entrepreneur. I remember your days on Shopping Channel with me, an advocate for family and faith-based values. You've become a bold, authentic voice for faith, family, and justice. How does the legacy of the fighters for the 19th Amendment empower you to challenge today's cultural double standards, and how does that show up in your work on criminal justice reform?
Yeah, I think, their courage, all the women's courage reminds me that change doesn't come easy. You have to stand up for what you believe in, and it doesn't matter how many doors close in your face, you keep pushing forward. I like to say that when I was fighting for my parents, I forced my way into rooms that I was never invited into. And I think as women, we have to do that no matter how many times you're told no. And I look at my little sister, and I have a 12-year-old that looks at me and wants to do everything that I do. So do I want to teach her to keep her mouth shut and be sweet or have a voice? I had lunch at the White House, and one of the guys that was at the table, I was the only woman at the table, and at the very end, he goes, "I thought you were going to be the quiet, sweet one." And I started laughing, but it also goes to show what men think when they look at a pretty face that sits down at the table.
That's right.
I thought you were going to be the quiet, sweet one, and I don't want to be known as the quiet, sweet one.
Tell everyone that may be in the room and don't know your story really quickly about how hard you fought for your parents and why and how that all happened.
So my parents were under criminal investigation in 2012 in Fulton County. It took 7 years for the federal government to issue a formal indictment. And when they did, they came down with a superseding indictment, and both my parents got a combined 19 years in federal prison. At that time, I got my brother and sister, who were 10 and 16 at the time, so I had full custody at 25. And nothing prepares you for a preteen girl. I literally one day was like, get in the car, I'm taking you to the police station.
That works.
It's not an easy job. But then I just became very outspoken. I saw the injustices that occurred within our court system, the media, the prison system, and I knew at this point, I knew too much to not do something about it. And I stood up. I started speaking on my social media channels. I spoke at the RNC and multiple other political events. And I got to have a conversation with the president. This was 6 months before he was reelected, and I was at Mar-a-Lago, and he took interest in my family and our story. And when I was talking to him, I was like, I don't feel like I'm talking to the President of the United States. I feel like I'm talking to my father. I felt like I was talking to someone who genuinely cared and wanted to know. And then on May 28th of this year, the president pardoned both my parents. So now they're at home.
And that would have not happened if Savannah had not had a voice, stood up, spoke up, and didn't sit at the table and not say something. So thank you. And Julie and Todd are very blessed to have you as their daughter.
Thank you.
Very blessed. Kimberly Fletcher, girlfriend, how you doing? You've done it all. Founder of Moms for America, mother of how many children?
8 children.
And did you homeschool those kids?
Yes, I did.
Yes, she did. Oh my gosh. Now think about that. 8 kids, homeschooling. And what are their ages, Kimberly?
The oldest is 39, the youngest is 22, and he just got married, so I don't have to be my boy's woman anymore. That was my goal. My goal.
You accomplished it. You accomplished it. The women that got us the right to vote, those suffragists, were about faith and family, and that's very much you in persona. You've continued that tradition, especially during the COVID era. Those restrictions and parental rights that were taken away from parents across the nation, you saw it firsthand. How does today's mom carry the torch of civic courage passed down by those early warriors for freedom?
You know, I first have to honor those early warriors because they were pretty impressive women. And what the feminist movement has turned into was not what the suffragist movement was about. And what the mothers today are standing up on are those original suffragists who wanted more purity, more decency, their rights proclaimed, protected as parents. So I would say, and I can say as an organization, one of the things that has had a profound impact on the women and mothers in the country today is our cottage meetings. And the history and heritage of who we are, what America's about, we don't know that anymore. And so we have mothers who are raising children who didn't hear it when they grew up. I can't believe when I say this out loud. I'm 59 years old.
Woo, and holding.
And I never heard the Constitution when I was going to school. If that was the case when I was going to school, imagine where they are today. So our cottage meetings are literally giving back their history and their heritage, helping them understand the principles of liberty, the Constitution. And we do it in a way, there are lots of great programs out there that I highly recommend, but what is completely unique about ours is it's a mom-to-mom messaging. It was written by moms for moms. It's relatable to who they are. And so when all those battles started coming, they were justifiably showing up and screaming and calling people to repentance. But when you show up at a school board meeting and say you're going to burn in hell, you're not going to win any arguments. And that was what was happening. And I'm like, listen, we have to build relationships with these people, and we have to come in strong, but not so angry that they're not going to listen to us. Right. And I gave them their power back. I helped them understand what your rights are, where they come from. They come from God, not government. And it was so empowering that instead of them feeling alone and weak and like they're the only crazy one out there. They were united and empowered by what their power actually is. And women and these moms who would never speak in public were out speaking all over the place, just like you. It is very empowering to know just how powerful your influence is. And then they need to understand how to effectively wield it. And that is what has made the difference in all of these fights and why we have won so much. In fact, I will say this because this is something that I pride myself in. The president of the Kansas Teachers Union was interviewed by the Kansas City News and said, "We fear Moms for America because they're moving people in the wrong direction." Well, let's keep moving them.
Yeah. And as Kimberly says that, she will be humble, but she started her company not yesterday when we all started thinking there was a problem 8 to 10 years ago. She started it 20 years ago in 2014. 2004, so sorry, 2004. And today, 500,000 moms across this nation follow that woman. And I could not be more proud to be on her board because I see her in action. It's not just words. So thank you, Kimberly, for all that you do. Thank you. Abby Spencer Moffitt, my new bestie. CEO of Diane Davis Spencer Foundation, and so much more. You lead one of the most influential philanthropic organizations in America, advancing liberty, national security, and educational opportunity. How does your vision reflect the lasting power of women's empowerment rooted in America First values?
Well, thank you so much, Stacey. I first want to thank AFPI for everything they do to encourage freedom and to stand with women. And particularly Stacey, thank you very much. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
Really, the 19th Amendment was really more than a right to vote. It's about dignity and the capacity to shape the world around us. Empowering women specifically, appropriately, is at the center of most of our grants. It's including women in Independent Women's Forum or Iron Star Foundation that empowers women, or the Network of Enlightened Women. And of course, AFPI does phenomenal work. At the Diana Davis Spencer Foundation, our investments in liberty, security, and opportunity are deeply rooted in the 19th Amendment, amplifying the voices, the choices, and contributions of individuals, especially women, across generations. We believe that liberty is not just political, but it's personal. It's the freedom to think independently, to speak boldly, to learn to lead, and to live in safety. Security is not about national defense only. It's about the ability of a mother to raise her children in a safe environment, for a young woman to be able to walk to school safely, and for an entrepreneur to have a voice and not be afraid of censorship. And opportunity is the heartbeat of empowerment, whether it's access to real education, capital or networks, or simply someone who believes in their potential. The work I do, perhaps even more so, the way I live my life, is a testament to the women in my life. I'd be remiss not to think about the legacy of my mother and grandmother and the generations before them, women who led quietly but powerfully. One of the earliest memories of my grandmother, my late grandmother, Catherine Wasserman Davis, was walking in the suffragette parade in 1913 here in Washington, D.C. with her mother. Years later, she was lecturing on peace behind the Iron Curtain, while most American women still needed a man to co-sign for a credit card. My mother, Diana Davis Spencer, broke the barriers in journalism and later in disabilities reform and also in education reform. In turn, each inspired me, and now my daughter Julia, to make a difference in the world. Their examples are proof that empowered women don't just lift themselves, they lift communities, countries, and generations. That's the vision we try to carry forward in our philanthropy, to champion self-reliance, civic participation, and resilience, not just as policy goals, but as deeply personal pathways to flourishing. We always say we invest in people. When those people are women with grit and grace, the ripple effects are exponential. The 19th Amendment is a gateway, not a finish line. It opened the door for generations of women to walk through with courage. Our job is to keep that door open wider, even more, for more people, more women to follow.
That's so good. Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also, when we talked on the phone, you talked about some of the people that, because of who your mother and your grandmother and your family have been, that you've been connected with. You told me dinner with Reagan. I'm like, what? You were a little girl and all these people. Just name some of the people in your life you've been so blessed to meet that are really grace and grit.
Well, I will share a story about being invited in my 20s to a small luncheon, only 10 people, and I was sitting at one end of the table, and at the other end was the Prime Minister Thatcher, Baroness Thatcher, and she got up from the head of the table and literally walked over to me and said, "Young lady, you have a voice. Now use it."
Oh my gosh. It's a moment you'll never forget.
And the
Historical.
moment I will never forget.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
She really made a difference in her world and ours too, globally. And there you were sitting having lunch.
Absolutely.
As you do. As you do.
Well, I'll share a story about Reagan. My late grandfather learned about Reagan and invested in him before he ever ran for governor. He said, "This man is going places." And my grandmother said, "I believe Nancy's going places and Reagan will follow."
How true, right? Behind every good man is an amazing woman. I love it. That's great. Very good. Very good. Jamie Franklin. Woohoo! And her sweet husband, Drake, is in the back. Drake, wave to everybody. Drake is a team member here at AFPI, an incredible force to be reckoned with. His father is Pastor Jensen Franklin from Georgia, that many of you know from Free Chapel. We love him. And but his son and daughter-in-law are the future. And Jamie, thank you so much for being here. You're a wife, you're a mother now, entrepreneur extraordinaire. You've created the Conservator. You've created a space where America First conservative women can reclaim beauty, boldness, and their belief in God in our republic. How do you see your work as a modern extension of the 19th Amendment spirit, especially in revitalizing culture and reaffirming traditional values?
So I'm going to get a little fiery and passionate here.
Go, girl.
So I'm so proud to be an American. My parents actually immigrated from Canada. I'm a little embarrassed. I'm technically kind of Canadian. I was born in the U.S. though. But I'm so proud of what, the suffragettes achieved back in the early 1900s, but I'm disappointed by where this movement has gone over the last 100 years. And there's so many amazing women like Secretary McMahon who have been kind of against all of that. And so I'm really thankful we do have amazing conservative women who have been leading the charge. But unfortunately, the feminist movement has been very disappointing in the way that it turned for fighting for equality, the right to vote, and being a strong voice, to abortion, rabid anti-men sentiments, and what's most upsetting to me is the anti-natalist culture, where there's a real attack on the family. And I'm a part of Generation Z, so I feel like I've been at the brunt of this as I've been coming to age, where I wanted to go into fashion actually originally, and I went over to London and did a whole summer at Condé Nast College of Fashion and Design, because that was my dream, to be a fashion journalist. And I've always had conservative values because I grew up Catholic. And I was so alienated by what they were pushing to young women, which is so against everything I stood for. And then I went to UC Berkeley, where I grew, yeah. I went to UC Berkeley. I got into a great school and wanted to go, but I realized how hypocritical these feminists were when I was there, because I'm a proud conservative woman. I have my opinions and I want to stand up for what I believe in, which I'm very against abortion, for example, and they silenced me at every step and they condemned me. So I'm like, you are not for all women. So that's why I launched the Conservatoire, because I wanted a place for women. I really, really am passionate about changing the culture, and that's become even more so for me as I've gotten married to Drake, and I love being a wife and I love being a mom, and I'm so passionate. I've had just amazing opportunities to go on Fox News, create my own business and everything, but at the end of the day, I want to spread the message to young women that nothing is going to be more fulfilling to you than your faith in God, your family, and having children. And so that's what I'm so passionate about spreading towards young women.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Thank you. You and Savannah are like two to be reckoned with. On social media, if you guys aren't following Savannah Chrisley and Jamie Franklin, take out your phones after the event and start following, because you will be life learners continually, no matter what age we're at, and they're setting the pace for the future. So I really want you guys to look at them. Linda, you've been on the front lines of restoring truth in education, fighting indoctrination, and putting parents back in charge. How do you see this as part of the path for women claiming their rightful place as protectors of freedom and champions of the next generation?
Well, thanks, Stacey, for that question. First of all, I would just like to say, what an amazing panel you've put together here. Wow.
It's a team effort.
Look at this. Look at the experience we have, all the way from sitting, with Reagan as a young child, to you, reclaiming what you want to do, as a wife and a mother, but as a strong voice, Moms for America, and all of the homeschooling, 8 kids, good God. And I mean, that in and of itself, you deserve a medal and all that for that. But in Savannah, championing her, her parents' rights, and my friend Stacey, who I've just watched and admired, for so many years, for having her own business, and I know her story, when she first, started at HSN, and she's an amazing, amazing woman and a great friend. Yeah. So this is an incredible, incredible panel, and I'm really honored to be part of that this morning. In terms, I am Secretary of Education, and that's it's a very big responsibility, especially when you've been hired to put yourself out of a job. And to fire yourself is the moment of success. But in the process of that, what the president really is saying is that he wants to take the bureaucracy out of education. And he wants to make sure that our children have equal access to an excellent education. He's a firm believer in school choice, that children should not be imprisoned, if you will, or held back because they're in schools, that aren't successful or aren't teaching them. And so restoring the freedom to education is so incredibly important, because I think we really have, kind of pushed our kids down. And when we look at what our nation's report card has shown since the president actually came into office, of, only 30% of 8th graders can read proficiently. Think about that, 30%. That means 70% cannot. And it's mostly the same for math as well, and for 4th graders as well. We have failed our students in this country in their education. But not only have we failed them academically, I think, and part of what you were saying, Jamie, we have failed them in understanding the merits of family and that unity that comes from a very, very strong family and faith-based family as well. So we have to restore, I think, how we think about our homes and our lives and our families, and it's just incredible to see how much difference that makes. And I've recently seen some studies that will be released, pretty soon, with some of the other research that we've done about scoring is typically higher in families that are strong, mother and father, in home, with children, teaching them, watching them, protecting them. But what we have to make sure of in education, and this is something the president really stresses all the time, it is parents first relative to what their children are taught, where they're taught, how they're taught. And when we have schools where actions are taken with children and parents aren't involved, that is absolutely wrong. Mm-hmm. We cannot do that. parents have to have the rights, relative to their children. I'm going to be fighting very, very hard for that. I'm going to make sure that parents come first relative to what their children are being taught. And I'm so pleased to serve in a cabinet where we have, we have 7 women on the cabinet, 8 when we include our wonderful chief of staff, Susie Wiles. And every one of us serving together, we're so collaborative. We do events together. We're supportive of one another. We have common minds relative to, for instance, Secretary of Labor, Homeland Security with Christine Nome, all the things that we do together. Well, and not to leave out our wonderful Secretary of Agriculture, Ms. Brooke Rollins, who's also looking at homes and food and everything that is going on. So this is a really combined effort with this administration to make sure that we have freedom in education, parents come first, and that we are restoring our thoughts of faith and God in our country, but that we are making education be free so that parents can have the right choice, for their children.
That's incredible, Linda. Thank you for all your hard work. I know we're excited here at AFPI. Yes, please go ahead and give the secretary a round of applause. She's doing a tedious work. It doesn't come without long days. I don't think I've ever seen her work in the almost 20 years I've known her this hard for a woman that really didn't need to step up, but has. Proud that AFPI and the Department of Education will be making an announcement soon about the 250th anniversary of our country, our birthday, and so that'll come, and please be watching for that. Linda, I just think what you've done, I mean, I've seen you go to Columbia University and all these, yes, K through 12, 3 days a week you're on the road, getting into the schools, meeting the teachers, talking to the children, but you're also in higher ed. I mean, did you ever think that would be something you would be going around and talking to deans of universities?
Well, I never actually envisioned I'd be the Secretary of Education either.
Well, you didn't envision when you became the Secretary of the SBA either.
But I have to tell you, the education, and I'll go back to my theme for a second, starts at home. Who are the first teachers? It's moms and dads at home. But moms really are, I think, are setting the pace. But when I have looked at what's happened in our higher ed world, the ideology that's being taught in our universities and the things that we're wrapping our arms around to make sure that we must protect the First Amendment right, in our country, but we must have balanced viewpoints on our campuses, and that's what we're fighting very, very hard to do.
That's so true. Absolutely, 100%. Thank you. Kimberly, as everyone here knows, at the very core of leftist Marxism ideology is the strategy of divide and conquer. And Martin talked about it earlier, about pitting rich against poor, black against white, urban against rural, and ultimately men against women and women against men. As a leader of those 500,000 women across America, how does our God-centered vision of womanhood, rooted in harmony between men and women, differ from the outdated feminist model of division, and how does it empower women and girls to lead with strength and purpose today?
Well, first I would say that women are destroying this country, and it is only women that can save it. And you can look at what happened during the Kavanaugh confirmation. I'm like, where are the women in Congress? Why aren't they standing up and saying, sit down and be quiet? So we showed up. And we were the counter voice, and it made all the difference.
Huge difference.
And this is the reason why what you ladies are doing is so incredibly important. Having our voices out there, and in ways that are not intimidating or attacking, because that's what the feminists do. And it is a Marxist movement. It is a communist Marxist movement. That is what feminism is. And I hear people all the time say, well, I'm the original feminist. Like, stop using the word. It has been taken. You cannot fix it. You just be who you are. Stand against that. And so the original suffragists, and I mentioned this, but I just want to read this quote because all of the original suffragists were warning against this communist Marxist movement within the women. And there was a woman, one of the original suffragists named Frances Cobb, wrote a book, And in the book, she said, I have striven to warn my hearers against that adoption of the looser and more bohemian manners. These faults and mistakes constitute, I conceive, deadly perils to the whole movement for the advancement of women. And with all my strength, I would implore every woman who sympathizes with that movement to set her face like flint against them. For if women were to become less conscientious, less unselfish, less temperate, less chaste, then I should say, for heaven's sakes, let us stay where we are. Nothing we gain would be worth such a loss. This is what they were warning against. So what you're doing now is saying, hey guys, you've been lied to. It's the reason why we do our Moms for America podcast, which I'm so excited. 2 weeks ago, I got a notification that we are in the top 5% of podcasts globally.
Woo! Way to go!
So moms are hungry. Women are hungry. There's such a hunger out there for these messages. It's why we started the Mom View TV show. It comes out weekly. The Herzog Foundation has been incredible in supporting that. And we are talking about things that moms care about. And at the root of what we care about, all moms care about the same things. First and foremost, the safety and protection of our children. Second, we want them to get a good education. And third, opportunities to succeed. All of those things have been taken away from us. And having someone like Linda, I gotta say, having someone like Linda McMahon and the Department of Education, knowing that she's putting herself out of a job, but in the meantime, she's doing a lot of incredible things. We have a voice. We have a voice at that table. We have a voice at the Department of Agriculture table. We have a voice at the president's table to finally have people who are your advocate instead of your adversary. You're no longer being called domestic terrorists by your government. I mean, it is invigorating, it is empowering, and the movement that is happening because of that is, I believe it is going to, we are having a major switch in the direction our country's going because those women voices are standing up again on those things that we care about. So I just, the one thing I wanted to leave with today, and I have copies of this so you know, at the beginning of our nation, I mean, it started before we even had the Declaration of Independence. It was mothers who laid those seeds. I don't know if you know the story of the Plymouth mothers, but in that first year, there were several deaths. And of all of the people that died from hunger and starvation, most of them were women. Why? Because they were mothers who were laying on their children to keep them warm at night, who were giving them their food when they were sparing it. Because they believed in something beyond them. And we have such a selfish, self-centered country right now and world that it's going to take those mothers standing up and being the counter voice to that feminist movement. There's a belief that these women during the revolutionary time were downtrodden and slaves to the patriarchy. It's a lie. My daughter and I just finished writing a book. There's 30 copies here somewhere that are free to anybody who wants one.
It's the first time they're being given out.
Yeah.
So
yeah. This is the pre-order copy. It even has a little banner that says "Not for sale" on it. The book officially comes out. I think the 10th of September. Anyway, you guys will have free copies, but it's called Remembering the Ladies. And it's all the stories of these amazing mothers, women, and daughters who stood up. And so it just reminds me of my big fat Greek wedding and the grandma on there. He may be the head of the house, but I'm the neck, and I'll turn that head wherever I want. This is the power that we have. So in 2017, right before when we launched the Moms March for America, which was the first huge thing that changed everything. We had 500,000 downloads, over 500,000 downloads. That's just downloads. We know of at least one church in New Jersey that had over 200 women who are watching the live stream because it went down. We had to get it back up. We were encouraging moms to meet in your home, invite other moms in, and come with your daughters, watch it and join it. So our best guesstimate is we had just a little over 2 million or more that tuned in, and in 4,000 cities, all 50 states and 23 countries around the world. That is what really set the trajectory on this movement. It was like a big wake-up call when all these moms were like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, I'm not the crazy one. And so for that event, we penned the Declaration of Mothers. And it was introduced into the congressional record in 2018. It was reintroduced by Congresswoman Mary Miller this year because we had a little addition. We didn't know that we had to clarify man and woman, so we added that in there. But it's very, very important that we share this as far and wide as we can, because it's now 10 paragraphs of awesome, which just clearly states what we all know to be true, that parents are first and foremost the teachers, the educators, the nurturers of our children. The government can't replace that. There is no entity, organization out there, no matter how well organized it is, that can replace the family, and they should stop trying. They should be supporting the family. And the last thing I will leave you with is the part of this proclamation is, a nation is but a magnified home. And if we don't like what we see, we have the ability to change it. We're doing it in our own sphere of influence, first with our children, the men in our lives, and anyone in our sphere of influence, our grandchildren. We have the ability to change it. The future literally is in our hands. And that is the greatest gift that we can give to those incredible women who sacrificed everything, not to get the vote, we already had it, but to convince a bunch of men that we had it. Thank you.
You can see why she has 500,000 women across the nation following Kimberly Fletcher. And what I love when you always speak is that it's we. You've never been an I person. I watch you, and I'm like, she's a team player, and she brings everyone to the table, never excluding anyone, always including everyone. Thank you, Kimberly, for that, because it's a gift, and you have it. So thank you so much. Thank you. And you guys pick up those books. I'm telling you, it's the history of America, the real history of America. You will keep hearing me say real history of America, not what we've been taught, but what we really know if we've read the Constitution. And again, with the 250th birthday, Kimberly's working with the White House as its AFPI in the celebration across America. And now Moms for America will be working with AFPI on the 250th birthday. And we could not be more honored to have you on as a team and a collaborator. So thank you so much. Abby, legacy and innovation often seems at odds, but you've struck a balance. How do you nurture the next generation of female changemakers while preserving the principles that have made America exceptional?
At DDSF, we believe in tradition and innovation are not opposites. They're partners. One grounds us, the other moves us forward. Honoring tradition means recognizing the values and the virtues that built this country. Self-reliance, civic responsibility, liberty of consciousness, and a deep commitment to service. These are not relics, they are roots, and like any strong tree, growth depends on both healthy roots and bold branches. Innovation, then, is our way of honoring those roots by extending their reach. Whether we're investing in the next generation of schools, reimagining education free from liberal ideology, supporting young journalists willing to stand and challenge the mainstream or speak out against communism, or training emerging leaders in civil society, we're asking, how can we apply timeless principles to today's problems? How can we prepare tomorrow's leaders, especially young women, to act with integrity, courage, and vision? For me, it's also personal. I have the pleasure of doing my work surrounded by many incredible women. As I said, I had the privilege of watching the women in my family with quiet fortitude and deep clarity. They didn't chase trends, they shaped them, thoughtfully, boldly, and often ahead of their time. That's what I am aimed to do, carry forward the best of what was while clearing the way for what can be. It's a delicate dance, respecting the heritage and fueling innovation. But when we invest in women with reverence for the past and an appetite for the future, we find that tradition doesn't just hold us back, it lights the pathway.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And everything that you do also with education. That's so important to you.
Absolutely. We have really been at the forefront of encouraging national security philanthropic, and particularly focused on women. I'm an entrepreneur. I had my own business prior to running the foundation, and we started a graduate school in national security. We were able to be accredited in 3 years, and we ended up merging with the Bush School at Texas A&M. And we now have many students that are not only in the U.S. government in high places, we've also had students that are from Poland that are now working in the President's office, the Prime Minister's office, and many of the top security offices in Warsaw.
That's incredible. Well, thank you for that. The next generation's in your hands daily. Jamie, the Conservator blends femininity and freedom. How do you use your platform to push back on false empowerment narratives and elevate the voices of women who choose elegance, grace, and grit?
Yeah, that's what we're about at the Conservator. And I'll say this, back when I would say before I went to college, I was more of a conservative on like some economic issues. Obviously, I was pro-life, but I've really realized that the culture is the most important thing if we want to change our politics. And at the center of conservative culture, it needs to be God and Christianity and the church. Because without that, that's where we tie our values to, that's where we tie our mission to, and that's what we tie our purpose as Christians every single day. And if you look at the left, and feminism is obviously a huge part of the left, it's become a pseudo-religion for a lot of people. And I see that especially in my generation on these campuses. And that's why people are so passionate about these issues, whether it be the Palestine craziness, the transgender ideology, and you're kind of like, why do these people continue to believe these insane things? And it's because they have a religious reverence towards these ideas. And it is because we've let our culture become more and more secular. The church now has pulled out of the culture completely. There's no one's allowed to pray in schools. Christianity is no longer the center of our culture, and we need to change that, and we need to put it back. And I will tell you right now, with my generation, Gen Z, they're going back to church in masses. And I think this is, which is a great sign. And I think this is because in the age of social media that we've grown up on, and in the age of COVID, people just feel so isolated, and they're longing for a community and a purpose. And this leftist ideology, it doesn't provide them that at the end of the day. There's no salvation. It's not about serving others. It's about an obsessive, narcissistic, identitarian, belief in just me, 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 me. And so we need to take advantage of that, because I will tell you right now, a statistic recently just came out. In America, the happiest people are conservative Christian women. And it's because we don't reject what we are as women. Whenever people talk about equality, men and women are equal under the law. Yes, we both deserve the right to vote, and we both, under the law, need to be held accountable with that. But we're not, it's like comparing apples to oranges. We are different. And so as conservative women, we need to embrace what makes woman so special. Motherhood, nurturing, being the head of a household, and being a support to her husband. And it's so important, like even if you look at the LGBTQ stuff, it doesn't make sense with nature to put two men together. Men and women are meant to come together and achieve amazing things for their family and their career together. And so I think with young people right now, we're getting them back into church, and we're changing the culture because people are depressed, they're on therapy, and they're in the secular world, and they need this, and they're longing for it. So I think we just have an incredible opportunity as conservative women to reach out to young women. We've done really well with young men, but we need to reach out to young women right now and reject this feminist, progressive ideology that makes you so miserable.
Thank you, Jamie. You can see why her podcast and everything is like blowing up. Did you want to say something, Abby, to that?
I just wanted to give a little bit of a historical background. The church left Hollywood in the 60s. All the church offices had places in Hollywood, and they left. And notice what happened with our country. So it goes all the way back to the 60s.
Well, all of the people the countries that have been against America for decades have always said, we won't come at you with another war. We'll come to you within, and we'll use your universities. And that's why President Trump, when he put Linda McMahon in that position, knew he needed a strong, powerful woman that thinks and analyzes before she speaks and makes a difference. And it was because of that in our education systems that this country's fallen apart. And it happened on our watch. We allowed it to happen in our generation. I'm 63 years old, and we just sat on the sideline. Till COVID came along, Kimberly, we didn't even know what our kids were being taught. You did. You were homeschooling, but those of us that sent our kids to private and public schools, we didn't really know what they were hearing in education. So you're right. It's a war. If you don't know it, we're in it. And every day we have to pick up and be freedom fighters. So thank you. And with that, Jamie, thank you. Freedom fighter here, Savannah Chrisley. Many women feel disillusioned by the media's version of empowerment. What does real empowerment look like to you, and how can transparency and truth in our justice system, become part of the story?
I have to say, I went through a phase of, I am woman, hear me roar, like, listen to me. And I remember my dad sitting me down, and he was like, there's nothing attractive about this energy, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, thanks, Dad. And he sat down and explained it to me. And in that moment, that's where I realized there is so much power in feminine energy. And when we learn how to use it to our advantage, you can turn it on, turn it off, but it is the most powerful thing when you have heart and soul for individuals and you actually care. Right now, I am working with the Bureau of Prisons, and I'm uncovering a lot of corruption that's going on within the Bureau. And I sit back and I look and I see how broken it is. And I see how unfair it is. And for me, there's so much power in second chances. There's power in rehabilitation. And we don't get to say that we are pro-life and then pick and choose who we love, who we're pro-life for. Life doesn't just stop at the time that a child's conceived. It continues until God calls you home. And that's what I am so blessed to be doing right now within the Bureau of Prisons, is using my voice as a woman. Thankfully, President Trump put two amazing men to run the Bureau. You have Billy Marshall, Josh Smith, and the director of the Bureau of Prisons reached out to me days into him being in the office, and he said, would you be willing to meet with me? He said, I want transparency. I want to see what you have. I want to see what I need to fix. And for me, I sat back and I was like, wow, I'm a 28-year-old woman. This man is coming to me because I've learned how to put the message out there. I've learned how to narrate it. And I've learned how to do it in a way to where I use my feminine energy. And I'm soft, and I'm caring, and I'm loving to all lives, not just one.
That's right. Oh, gosh, Savannah, thank you so much. I remember many a days of you crying and fighting and sorry.
I would not have it any other way.
She wouldn't.
I think
she would have never let down and never stopped until her parents were seeing the justice they so deserved.
Yeah, I think, for me, the past 2.5 years, I would do it all over again. Yeah. Because it put me in rooms like I'm in today. It gave me a voice. It taught me how to stand up for what I believe in. And I want to create a legacy for my daughter to where she's like, that's my mom. She implemented lasting change. And like I said, a political speech, I was like, all it took was one really pissed off daughter to make change, to implement change. And when you love and care and you're passionate about something, there's nothing that you can't accomplish.
You can't, and it came so easy to you, but not a undifficult period of your life, for sure, at such a young age and what you took on. So thank you for doing that for so many others now. Jack Brewer here, a lot of you know, here at AFPI, and Frank Murphy with our Athletes for America, and Jack Brewer, he's about second chances. We have a whole center on that, and they go into the prisons, they go into the jails, and right after this, Savannah's running over to the Department of Justice to meet with Pam Bondi while she's here. There's so much going on today. We just ask you guys to get involved. We want you to support women like these two young women that really want to make change and have a voice. So thank you, Savannah. Linda, in close, last question. When we created Women's Leadership Live with our dear friend Debbie Saviano here in the audience, We dreamed of a moment like this and a group of bold, faith-filled women who are redefining what real empowerment looks like. As we close this conversation, what gives you the hope for the next century of the American woman?
What a heavy question. And when you and Debbie and I did come together, we really were about empowering women to start businesses, to have faith in themselves. We found that women, who were starting businesses, not all women, but women didn't tout their own value, their own worth. They didn't have courage to put their business plans together, to go in and talk to bankers and say, this is really what I want to do. And so we took on, that mantle of helping women understand, boy, this is who you are. You really do have this, and step up. And then I look at Savannah and I look at Jamie, and I know that all of our efforts have not been for naught. But I'll tell you the greatest hope I have. I have 3 beautiful, wonderful granddaughters. I have 3 wonderful grandsons as well, but we're talking about women today. And I look at the 3 of them. I see the image of their mother. And this is not patting me on the back at all. But but I look at them and I say, you know what? We are making a difference. They are strong, they're courageous, they don't hesitate, they're respectful. They don't hesitate to voice their opinion or to stand up for who they are. And I think that's, if we have inspired our girls and our women and our daughters, and we do it every day throughout the organizations that we're part of, like AFPI, like the Women's Leadership Movement at AFPI. We're continuing to grow that movement and that inspiration within these young women, and I am so pleased to see that. So if I have, I know it is patting me on the back, but they're the ones I'm with the most of that next generation, and when I see them, I'm going, wow, they are really incredibly special. Stacey's daughters. I don't know your daughter. I don't know any of yours. I do have a little bit of knowledge with yours. She's a cutie pie. But that is what we have to work on every single day. It's that next generation, the one after that, the one after that. And so I am so inspired with the work that's going on here and everything that we're doing, because it's not just about women. But when we look at women and say, if we are inspiring women and giving them their voice, we give a voice to everyone. And let's make sure we continue to do that. So thank you so
Linda.
much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for this panel. I'm just going to say a few words in closing here, if I may. Can we give it up for our events team? AFPI has the MC and Kaylee. They have the hardest jobs in organizing everything that we do, from our events at Mar-a-Lago to our summits in the spring. We hope you guys will join us for some of those. It's some of the most enlightening policy discussions by American leaders across our nation that come together. So we hope you'll join us for those. But today was a special day. We're all blessed to be here, and we all have a role to play. But I want to say, it was an incredible, soul-stirring conversation we've all shared. Sorry, Abby. I'm blocking here, my angel. Together, we've not only honored the legacy of the suffragists, but also ignited a new era of women's leadership, rooted in conviction, character, and courage. Women's Equality Day is not simply about looking back at history. It is a call to shape the future. The suffragists gave us the right to vote. What we do with that, that's our gift back to them. The stories you've heard today from our speakers, and you all have so many incredible stories in this audience as I look around and see so many friends, they're what America needs right now. We are at the tip of the spear. It is light against dark. We cannot stand on the sidelines. We've won an election, but it's not over. 2026 is coming. It's here. Elections are happening. We have to speak up, speak out, and take those that we know, love, and trust to the polls. And those that we don't know are more important to get to the polls. So please do your part. Make a goal for yourself. Say, I'm going to take 5 people in 26 to the polls. Just 5. Between now and 2026, when we're voting, you'll meet 5 people that you'll say, come alongside me, make a difference, have a voice. Women who don't follow trends anymore are the most important people in our lives. Those are the renegades. They're the warriors. They get out in front of things. Women who live their values out loud. Women who build. It's time to rise with grace, but grit, and fight like we've never fought before. We cannot get complacent at this time. Martin Gillespie and John Fogarty, that lead the development here team at AFPI, say, you know what? They've been in policy and politics for years. They came from our brothers over at the Heritage Foundation. They've seen this for decades. We get complacent as Republicans and conservatives. We've won. We can stay at home now. We don't need to do anything. Here at AFPI, Linda McMahon and Brooke Rollins set up that we are on a 100-year trajectory. This is not every 4 or every 8 or 12. This is a 100-year plan here. And we work with 100 coalitions around the country, like I see Julie Harris here with NFRW. National Republican Women, 136,000 women across the nation follow that woman. She's got a voice, she's leading. We have to come together. It's our voices that are our votes, and bring others along with us. And when future generations look back, let them say exactly what these ladies have said. Those Republican patriots, they kept America strong, they kept America free, and they fought for truth. To our speakers, our advisory team, our guests, and every woman and man carrying the torch for the future, generations are looking at us now. Thank you for having a voice that matters, your leadership matters, and your presence here proves that the best is yet to come. Let's keep pressing forward in truth. Let's remain rooted in grace, fierce in conviction, and committed to raising up the next generation of leaders who will carry this mission even higher than we ever dreamed of. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the greatest republic of the United States of America. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.